Hello and welcome to our Rotary Club meeting. It's great to see all of those of you who are here, and it's wonderful to see all those who are here via Zoom. We are just glad you can be here. We got a great program today with Terry and Pam sharing with us about what you are helping to do with polio. So it's going to be a wonderful meeting, and I would like to say that if we would all try to make sure we put our mask back on after we eat, because we have members who have had the COVID, and some of them have lost family members. So we want to be very careful because you're all very special and important to us. So please make sure if you're not talking from the podium or actually eating that you put your mask back on. Thank you so much.
For the invocation, if you would join me in prayer. Thank you, Father, for having created us and for giving us to each other in the human family. Thank you for being with us in all our joys and sorrows. You comfort us in our sadness. You abide with us in our loneliness. Give us the vision to see and embrace thy love in the world in spite of our human failures. Instill in us the faith to trust in your goodness, and provide us the insight to understand what each of us can do to set forth the coming of the day of universal peace. Thank you for yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and for the whole of our lives. We thank you for our friends, for health, and for grace. May we live every day conscious of all that has been provided to us. Bless the nourishment we received, and for the hands that prepared it. Amen. If you would stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's good to see everyone. I'd like to recognize our visitors today. So when I call your name, if you would stand and remain standing until we've recognized everyone. Johnette Nesbitt is a guest of the club. Dr. Dory Gamble is a guest of Marie Murphy. Megan Schroy is a guest of the club. And Beth Ellen Holloman is a guest of Chantel Babb. Let's give them a warm Rotary welcome.
When Beth, our district governor, was here last week, she was talking about how this year's emphasis for Rotary International is Rotary Opens Opportunities. And as you've probably heard from me several times so far this year, we've been talking about the opportunities that our club's looking at, which is the opportunities in service, in networking, and in fun. So later in the program, you're going to hear a little bit more about our service projects that we're doing this month at Alexander Elementary. So I'll let them talk to you about that. As far as networking goes, we have networking at noon on December the 17th. You can sign up online. It's just a small group networking opportunities. We talk about what's working for people now, some challenges that people are having, and how we can all move forward together. Just to go ahead and put on your calendar for networking, on January the 12th, that meeting will be with Mayor Knox White, who kind of gives us a state of the city, and I'm sure he's got a lot to talk about. So put that on your calendar for networking. And then fun, of course, which is one of our favorite things. We're having the next meeting, which is next Tuesday, not 2 weeks, but next Tuesday is basically going to be a social, and we will be served a meal, and we'll be eating in our place to be safe. And then we're going to have some wonderful music for us to appreciate, some holiday music. So, after you eat and you wear your mask, then maybe you can visit with some people some. So we're looking forward to that. And to remind you that before that meeting, we are having a Discover Rotary. So if you know someone, and I know some of you have been doing your Rotary via social media and inviting those 3 people to join us in Rotary this year, and just make a special effort to let them know that we have Discover Rotary. And there's usually something on Facebook that you could just share about Discover Rotary. And we would love to have them come find out more about what our club has to offer. And more good news that usually happens in December is that we pick or select the nominating committee, which is made up of former presidents, selects people to serve as our upcoming officers and to serve on the board. So this year that's Scott Powell's job, and he's done an outstanding job. We will vote next week, and it was in yesterday's newsletter to make sure everybody gets their ample 7 days of notice. So if you have any questions, I guess, or whatever, let us know. But the slate consists of our president-elect coming to be was Ramona Farrell. And many of you recall that Grady Patterson was next in line, but he has been selected to be the CEO of his company in Albuquerque. So he is going to deploy with the Air National Guard in April and get back and go to Albuquerque. So Wade Kolb has graciously agreed to take his place next. And our own Lisa Mangione will be in line. She's going to be the secretary or president nominee. So that's a wonderful group of upcoming presidents. Catherine Stoddard will be our new treasurer starting in, all this starts July the 1st. And I will be your immediate past president. I think Scott Stevens says that's a pretty good job. Our board members through 2022 will be John Allen, Fatima Ghazala, Teresa Miller, Mike Snively, Pam Weaver, Susie Tumblin, and Josh Fowler. Our board members through 2023 are Chantel Babb, Chris Manley, Christine Broswell-Amin, Roger Heitzig, and Greg English. So that's a great group of people. Be here next week to vote, and we are going to figure out a way to make sure everybody who's not physically here also has an opportunity to vote. So thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. I'm glad to be here, and I'm going to do another Rotary Foundation spotlight for you. This is in our series of trying to provide information and to you and our club so that we can serve the world and our community, and how the foundation gets into that. So it transforms our gifts into actions and projects that change lives close to home and the world. And you're going to be listening later, fortunately, to Alexander Elementary and their principal, who's going to give you another sense, a real life of what that has done. So this month, December, we're going to share the Rotary Spotlight directly on you. So we have a bargain offer for you that we sort of hope that you will not refuse, and specifics on that in just a moment. So the reminder of the vision of the Rotary Foundation is doing good in the world. And the annual fund share is one of the funding buckets of the Rotary Foundations. It's their primary source of funding for the local and the international Rotary Foundation, Rotary activities. And that's where we encourage you to place your contributions to the Rotary Foundation. And here, again, is just a reminder of how your donation impacts the Rotary activities around the world and our service projects right here in Greenville County. So if you give $100 to the Rotary Foundation, $50 of that goes to the World Fund and to their administration, and $50 of that comes back to our district. And then $25, up to $25 of that can be used to support projects that we submit grants for. So that's how you come around to helping our club as well. And so those grants that we apply for, they vary between $1,000 and $10,000. So the question, of course, is how do we get the biggest grant possible? And the process is competitive, and this is where all of you come in. So assuming our grant request fulfills all the grant guidelines, the amount of the grant award depends on our club's per capita giving to the foundation in the annual share or the Polio plus buckets. So this has nothing to do with the size of our club. It has only to do with the per capita amount that we have. So we can get up to $10,000 if our per capita fund is in the top 5, and we have other fundraising projects or other funding that supports that as well. Last year, or this year, we are at the $2,500 level. We have been at the $5,000 level, which, as you can see there, means $175 per capita. So it's a very simple equation here. Annual fund per capita equals the amount that we are eligible for in the grant. So just point home with the sledgehammer, if each one of us is able to give at least $175, we'd be able to transform our contributions into doubling the amount of funding for the projects that we think are so important to our community. And I don't know whether Alexander Elementary is going to tell us that we could do much more if we could, but this is one way to try to be able to accommodate that. So here's the offer. To encourage more of you to make a difference in this way, we want to make you an offer. And we will help you reach the next, through your contributions to the foundation, we will help you reach the next level in the Paul Harris Society from where you are now. The Paul Harris Fellows recognition is given to anybody who contributes a gift of $1,000 or more. And those funds accumulate through all the time that you're a Rotarian. So from the very beginning until now. So every time you get to the next $1,000 level, that's another Paul Harris Fellow level. So recognition consists, and we several members just got it last time. Recognition consists of a certificate and a pin, and each additional Paul Harris Fellow level is recognized with additional sapphires or rubies, which is sort of nice. So here's an example of how the club is going to help you get to that next recognition level. So if you are currently at, say, the $1,500 level to the foundation, and you have $500 left to get to that next Paul Harris level, if you contribute just half of that, and it can be done online or via a check, the club will contribute the remainder via points in order to get you to that next Paul Harris Fellow level. So that's how you can get up there, and you're recognized as you would be recognized as a Paul Harris Fellow +1, and then each $1,000 level after that is plus an additional one. So if you don't care about recognition, we have a lot of Rotarians in here and on Zoom who are extremely competitive people. So there are many people who do care about that. My goal, for example, as foundation chair is to make this a 100 club, to gain that coveted Rotary distinction of being a 100% Paul Harris Fellows Club. But whether or not you as an individual care about recognition for yourself or for the club, the Rotary Foundation makes a difference. You belong to a charity that has proven itself effective and trusted in what it does with its money. And you will be doing literally a world of good with this kind of a contribution. So here are the next steps. There's going to be an email from the club or some communication from the club. And while any amount to the foundation obviously is welcome, this email will give you the opportunity to jump to the next Paul Harris Fellow level. In that, I will give you your current status toward the next Paul Harris Fellow level, the contribution amount that you would need to make in order for the club to match that, to get you there. I mean, some people are $25 away, so that's a pretty good deal. And then I'll give you instructions for making that online Rotary Foundation, to the Rotary Foundation, if that's the way you would like to do it. It can be done by check too. If you're here today in person and you're just curious about how far you are away, I just happen to have a spreadsheet with all that information. If you're in Zoom and want to contact me, you can email me, but one way or another, you will hear from me. Thank you.
A couple of years I've tried to explain that. I got myself confused. So Connie, you did a great job. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We have a new member we would like to recognize today, Lucy Henry. If you could come up here, please. I'll let you stand over there. Introduce you to everybody. We're very happy to have our newest member, Lucy Henry. She is the VP Stakeholder Relations at First Sun EAP, And if you don't know what EAP is and you look it up like I did, it is Employee Assistance Program. So we're thrilled to have you. She lives at Lake Creek Drive in Greenville. Her spouse is Beth Kelly, and she has 2 four-legged family members, Maddie, who's a Basset Hound, and Khaki, who's an Aussie Doodle. Lucy is originally from Lumberton, North Carolina. She has a long family history of Rotarians. Her grandfather, Osmer Henry, was the district governor in the early 1940s. So that's pretty awesome. And so I think that another great byproduct of Rotary is that often you may have an influence on your children or grandchildren and not even realize it at the time. So that's wonderful. We're so thrilled to have you. She joined Rotary because she believes in the service model of Rotary and would like to be more involved in the Greenville community. And we have already packed holiday boxes together at Alexander. So that was a lot of fun. So we have plenty of opportunity, as you have seen. Her sponsors are Beth Paget and Bo Garland. And we're just very happy to have you with us, Lucy. Thank you. And I think I saw you last week already helping out with the technical stuff. So that's pretty cool. Thank you. It is also my privilege to introduce Mrs. Jonette Nesbitt. She has her bachelor's degree in elementary education, her master's in learning disabilities. She's an education specialist certificate from Converse College. She had 18 years of experience prior. She was the Mary Bramblett Elementary School principal in Cherokee County before she was selected to come to Alexander. And I can tell you from personal experience, there is nothing that she will not do for her students. And everything she does for her students, she has a great time. And we have enjoyed working with you, and you have just made it a joy for all of us. So Ms. Nesbitt's going to give us an update on Alexander.
Yes. Good afternoon. It's so great to be here. Your club has truly blessed our school. But before I start, I do want to introduce one person that's very important to our school, and this is Megan Schroy. Megan is our social worker. So a lot of things that you all do, we work in collaboration with our Title I coordinator, with our counselor, with our mental health therapist to truly wrap around supports for our students. But just in case you're wondering, I want to give you just a piece of who I am at a school that is full of about 70% of our students are Hispanic. And I do begin some of my parent meetings like this. La cosa muy importante es que somos una raza humana, no muchas razas diferentes. So the important thing is that we are a human race and not many different races. And that's truly how I feel about all of my students. Rotary has done an amazing job this year and last year with us. And I hate that I'm just only presenting one little piece of it. But we did a kindness week. And if you see here, you see some kindergarten students. On our kindness last day on that Friday, we were shining brightly with kindness. So students had on sunglasses, masks, and shirts, but that's just a quick capture of one of my favorite pictures from that day. We divided the week up into 5 different areas, and we called it Begin with Kindness. So the first day, we have our hat day here, and you see some of our students participating. The next day, we had Team Day. On that Wednesday, that was Veterans Day, so we had Red, White, and Blue Day. And the energy at the school for Spirit Weeks like this is really, really high. Everyone is excited. This one was kind of funny. We have uniforms at the school, and this is my first time being at a school with uniforms. And when we have uniform-free days, let's just say I truly embrace uniforms. But the teachers did a funny spin on this. So we all dressed up like the students that day, like we were them, and they thought that was funny. the last day was our kindness day. So we worked with Rotary on masks that were actually, each student got 3 white masks and they were able to dye them themselves. So this day, everybody had masks, everybody had shirts, and the day was so huge that every Monday, especially with the school year, we're beginning with kind. So we all wear our shirts every Monday. Teachers get to wear jeans, like starting a week off, because Fridays are a little bit easier. So Mondays, you will walk through our building and see everybody with these shirts on. At the end of the day, these are some students who are tie-dyeing their mask. One thing that I do love that Rotary has worked with us is if we're looking at teacher appreciation, we do have about maybe 7 to 10 people that are virtual this year. So we're very intentional on celebrating them as well. So at the beginning of the year, anything that we order or we plan, we get our virtual students and our teachers involved. So you see a virtual teacher here. She has the shirt on, taking a picture. She's in it with us. Our virtual students participated in our kindness week, even though they were on the computer, able to participate. Because as much as they're away from us, they're still part of our school. And we want to be very intentional about that as we transition to coming back one day. This is a very blurry picture, but our assistant principal, Ms. Hajima, said, what if we all got on the blacktop and the custodian got on the roof and he took a picture of all of us with our shirts on that day? And I do want to end with this before I see if Megan has any questions. We have a Eagle Strong affirmation that we rolled out at the beginning of the year. So at the beginning of the year, the first day for each student.
There's a huge burden for me to make sure that our kids are being provided for at home. And so even just the donation of the shoes, it really helped something normal for them. The beginning of the school year, they got to go shopping for shoes. That's something they would normally get to do and they might not have been able to do before that event. So thank you for that. And then the other was the Thanksgiving food boxes. I got to distribute 40 boxes of food for our families right before Thanksgiving break. And the feedback I got from our families on that, they were just so appreciative because they didn't get to have, some of them are not having the ability to have Thanksgiving like they used to because they've lost jobs, because they had to quarantine, or because COVID has taken away those jobs. So your donations are really impacting not just our students, not just our faculty, but their parents. And I just wanted to say thank you for that.
And I thought about something with Happy Feet. One of our high flyers, she was tickled while she was walking on a Happy Feet. And I said, why are you so excited? I really like your shoes. The color's really pretty. And it was Vans. And she said, I've never been able to buy Vans. And now I can have Vans on just like everyone else does. So if you don't think what you're doing matters, it really does. It matters.
Does this mean we're ready for the member news here today? I think so. We'll go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, my fellow Rotarians. Nobody emailed me about the free sponsorship that we have available for member news, so I'm taking matters into my own hands. So today's membership news is brought to you by Coastal Carolina National Bank. Go visit Rotarian Jimmy Kimball and his team to learn more about how they can help with all of your personal and commercial banking needs. Their "we can do that" attitude will be sure to help. And rumor has it that our very own Jimmy knows where an actual money tree is growing somewhere in the upstate. So go visit CCMB today and ask Jimmy to show you where the money tree is. 10 at the top, an organization with a stellar record of facilitating collaboration and coordination with business sectors across the upstate, recently announced their Upstate Unsung Heroes list. I am proud to say that our good friend and fellow Rotarian, Bob Morris, president of the Community Foundation of Greenville, was named to this year's Unsung Hero list. And rumor has it that each unsung hero is required to actually sing to their local Rotary Club. So please stand by for Bob's upcoming solo performance at our next Rotary Club meeting. Rotarian Hubert Yarborough was recently promoted as Senior Director of Emergency Room and Intervention Services for Favor Greenville. Congrats to Hubert. Congrats to Hubert. Favor stands for Faces and Voices of Recovery and has a tremendous impact in our community. You can learn more at favorgreenville.org. The Nature Conservancy of South Carolina, my personal favorite nonprofit organization and the one that I happen to work for, just permanently protected another 793 acres in the upstate of South Carolina. After protecting Walhalla's Stump House Mountain and Tunnel in 2007, the Nature Conservancy has partnered up with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources to triple the size of the Stump House Mountain Heritage Preserve. With this recent land acquisition, that means more protected land for both people and wildlife to enjoy. Rotarian Kathy McAfee is launching the second cohort group of the Fearless Leader program from January 6th through February 24th, 2021. This 8-week group mentoring program is designed to help emerging leaders get their businesses and careers back on track. For more information, visit Kathy's website, fearlessleader.me. That's your member news for December 2020. Don't forget, if you have member news or would like to sponsor member news for a whopping $0 sponsorship fee, just send me an email. I wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a very happy holiday season. Thank you all.
For actually helping participate in the Thanksgiving food boxes for Alexander Elementary. It was a huge success, as you heard. We really impacted a lot of families. It was really good, but we are going in a slightly different direction for Christmas. Alexander has indicated that they would like for us to help fill their pantry for the school, which would require a slightly different mindset. We are looking for donations as far as food donations. We actually have a list on the website of what food donations we're looking for and monetary donations to go out and actually purchase food. And on December 15th at 4 o'clock, we're looking for volunteers to help us go out and fill the pantry for Alexander. It would probably take about an hour of our time to fill the pantry, but we had fun last time, a lot of fun, and it'll be fun again. So that's December 15th. If anyone is available, you can sign up online to help us donate or help us start the pantry, and you can actually bring physical donations to the next Rotary Luncheon. For more information, just contact me or contact Michelle. Thanks a lot.
Okay, good afternoon. I'd just like to share a few things that we're actually doing for the teachers and the staff at Alexander Elementary that are doing such good work for the students. We had to shift this year. I know in the past, sometimes people on the committees were used to going in and spending time with the children during lunch while we gave them a meal, but we can't do that this year, but we have been delivering meals to them and also to the virtual teachers. So in October, we delivered Chick-fil-A, and we had 4 Rotarians. I'd like to thank Ryan Brown, Mike Sarvis, Chris Dixon, and Matilda Knowles for helping to get those meals out to the virtual teachers, and they're spread around. And then in November, we delivered ice cream sundaes to the school on National Sunday Day, which was also fell during Kindness Week, so that was nice that the teachers got something also. And in December, well, this Thursday, we are delivering barbecue, and special thanks to Chris, I don't know if he's here today, for arranging, we're having barbecue from Moe's Original Barbecue, and Chris, Jordan McKee, Scott Powell, and Matilda Knowles will all be helping to deliver those meals. And in January, Matilda's working on a project to deliver a small something to show the teachers we appreciate them. The months that we don't have meals, we try to just do a little something, which was why we had the ice cream sundaes the one month. And we did switch around the order for the meals so that in February we could do sweets for Valentine's Day. So if everybody could put that on your calendar now and bake when the time comes. On February 12th, we're planning to deliver sweets. I'll arrange a central drop-off point to pick them up, and we'll get them out there and hopefully deliver some to the virtual teachers also. And then March, April, and May. We do have dates planned for those. So if anybody is interested in ever helping to deliver a meal or has an idea for a teacher appreciation event, please contact me and let me know. We have 1 month open for the teacher appreciation that we don't have planned, and we have 1 meal that we don't have planned. We have a date, but so anybody would like to help with that, please let me know. And thank you for all those that have been helping.
It's my pleasure to introduce Terry and Pam Weaver for the work they're doing and what they're going to share with us today. These two people who have been together and supporting each other for volunteering for 40 years have a great story. But let's start out with Terry and his day work. He's the founder and owner of Delta Resource Group, a business coaching and advisory practice that works with business owners to build their company's value and plan for transitions of ownership. And Pam is the past District 7750 administrator and has worked with 9 district governors. But it is their volunteer efforts that has brought them here to talk about Rotary work internationally. But let me tell you, both have been honored. Terry is a member of the Kansas State University Engineering Hall of Fame, which I'd love to hear how you got that one and what that means, and is a recipient of the Rotary Foundation Citation for Meritorious Service, the Regional Service Award for Polio-Free World, and the Service Above Self Award. But Terry is also right there. She is a recipient of Rotary's Excellence in Service to Humanity Award. Well, these are some amazing people. Since 2013, they have visited at least 15 to 16 countries, visiting Rotary projects and participating in many. They've logged 2 million plus air miles. I would tell you, I have visited third world countries. I know you spend time in airports, you spend time in the planes, you spend a lot of time. And then when you get on the ground, you're trying to get going, you want to go to sleep. For 3-4 days, you feel like you get totally tired. You have to watch what you eat, you have to watch what you drink. You can't even shower without thinking about what the water is going to get in your mouth. So I want you to know, to do this kind of work takes a perseverance and a caring that's just amazing. So I just have to say that, these people have braved themselves from mosquitoes and all sorts of things to be our representatives and see what's going on in the world. And they have something amazing today. And I will tell you, it is personally an honor to welcome them up here to speak and hear what they have to say. Thank you. Terry and Pam.
Thanks so much, Rob. This is what polio looks like in India. Take me down a little bit. This is what polio looks like in India. We didn't see this in the United States. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the physiology and why these kids are paralyzed in these positions. And again, why we didn't see that in the United States a little bit later in the presentation. India saw its last polio case in 2011, almost 10 years ago now. They said that we couldn't eradicate polio in India. They grossly underestimated the Indian people and the Indian Rotarians. What a project. This is Ruxar. Ruxar is the last person in India to get polio. She was about 18 months old, which is a typical age to contract polio. And her 2 brothers didn't get polio because they were vaccinated. Now, Ruxar was not vaccinated because she was sort of a sickly child. She had all sorts of GI issues, diarrhea, and so forth. For whatever reason, her parents decided those were reasons not to vaccinate her. And that's the result. So, she probably got that from drinking contaminated water. We're involved in water projects. If you fix the water, you fix a whole lot of other things along with it. Our motto for the last 35 years has been end polio now. Well, India's past that. They've moved on to keep India polio free. And that's what this trip was about in 2015. We're still vaccinating in India and about 50 other countries. And the reason for that is polio is not done yet. Maybe you're sense of Indian geography is as weak as mine, so I'm going to take a chance here and let you know that, first of all, there are 1.3 billion people living in India. That's about 4 times the US population. And they're living on about 1/3 the area that we enjoy. So to call India heavily populated would be a bit of an understatement. Ruxar lives over in a province on the east side of India. Now here's a little bit of a close-up. We were vaccinating in Delhi, and the reason for that, of course, is that Delhi is only 250 miles from the Pakistani border. Pakistani border is where polio is still alive and well. Give you a little snapshot about how this fits together. This is sort of a scatter diagram of where polio cases are in Pakistan and Afghanistan. You notice the big bubble is on that mountain range border between the two countries, but you have cities around, and most of the larger bullets are cities. So that's where we still see a few over 100 cases a year in Pakistan and a few less than 100 cases a year in Afghanistan. You might ask, we've been at this for 35 years now. We started this in 1985. This was a 20-year project. You've ever remodeled a kitchen? So the question is, how hard is this? Folks, the answer is hard. This is hard, and I'll explain why. We stopped at the World Health Organization in Delhi for a little bit of background on polio and the polio eradication effort that is, again, 35 years old. And I happened to walk by this freezer. Now, in Europe, as you know, most refrigeration equipment has a thermometer on the door. This one did too. Of course, this is in Celsius in case you left your conversion tables behind. This is 15 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. You've heard a lot about the storage temperature of the COVID vaccine. Polio is no different. So first of all, we got a storage temperature of 15 degrees below 0 in countries where you can't count on the power. So of course, you also need an engine generator for any kind of site or facility where you're going to do vaccinations or whether you're going to store this stuff. Now let's think about Pakistan and Afghanistan. These kids are in remote villages in these mountain ranges. To get there is a quasi-military operation. You recognize that you got to take everything with you. You got to take the vaccine, you got to take the freezer, you got to take the engine generator, you got to take the gasoline, and of course you have to take the food and the water because they don't have any of that either, and it's pretty much off-road. This is amazingly hard to knock this disease out of these last 2 countries. We made our way through the first world pretty quickly. And you know, we've reduced the polio case count from 350,000 a year. 1,000 people a day were contracting polio, paralytic polio, in 1985. Now we're talking about a few hundred cases. So we've gone from 350,000 to a few hundred cases a year. We've got this thing rounded up, but it's not given up easily. This vaccine container on the left is how we take the vaccine out into the field, and it's shipped in these glass vials. We open the vial, snap this little stopper on it, and you'll notice it's got this little telltale on the front. That turns blue if the vaccine gets too warm. Now, you can take it out in this cooler, which has got 4 ice packs on each of the 4 sides out there for the day. But even then, we'd vaccinate a child, put it back in the cooler, vaccinate a child, put it back in the cooler. So, of course, the COVID vaccine will be a similar challenge, although in the case of one of those, much lower temperature, much lower storage temperatures. So here's how they did it. They had these things called National Immunization Days. Now, we learned this from the CDC and the World Health Organization, who helped us figure all this out 35 years ago. And what they said was, the solution to this is mass vaccination of a given population. So we went at this country by country. And of course, we knocked out the first world countries, the Western European countries, very quickly. And even some of the Asian countries have pretty good health delivery systems, mostly power, mostly roads, mostly food. So that was a whole lot easier. But what the Indians did, this is amazing. Indian Rotarians got on moving trains. They'd board a passenger train, and they'd start at the front car, vaccinating all the children they could find under 5 years old, going all the way to the back car. When they got finished, whatever next station they were at, they got off and caught a train coming back the other way. So you got a whole day's worth of customers coming and going, right at your doorstep. So it was those kinds of efforts. But here's what they did in a day. A National Immunization Day. They immunized 170 million kids, visiting 240 million households to get that done, with 2.3 million vaccinators. Can you imagine getting 2.3 million Americans organized and doing the same thing in a day? Can't even get them to wear the masks. That took 155,000 supervisors with vehicles, and these vehicles range from horse-drawn, camel-drawn, motorcycles, bicycles, and of course, automobiles. Remarkable effort. They said it couldn't be done. Here's where we are right now. As of last week, we have year-to-date, almost 12 months. We have 142 cases of polio in Pakistan. You'll notice in past years, we had that down as low as 8. 61 cases in Afghanistan. We have now declared, again, Africa and Nigeria polio free. Nigeria has not had a case in 3 years, which is the magic number. So Pakistan and Afghanistan, and some of this uptick here is not laid to the fact that there's more polio. We're finding more cases. We're back in these villages and spotting these kids. Now, here's the other hard part of this. You've heard about non-symptomatic spread. In polio, for every paralyzed person, there are 199 others walking around carrying the virus. So it's almost impossible to surround a given case because you have no idea. And folks have said, well, why are we so worried about this? We don't have polio in the United States. We haven't had polio in the United States since 1978. Well, folks, this virus is really portable. In 2014, I believe it was, the World Cup was in Brazil. They monitor waste streams all over the world, including major airports. And there was actually a person who landed in Brazil at the airport, obviously used a toilet, and was infected with polio. That was picked up in the waste stream. Now, that person bumped into a heavily vaccinated population, and that just stopped that virus in its tracks. That person apparently encountered only people who had been vaccinated, and so as a result, there wasn't any spread from presumably that one case. Somebody got off an airplane in Brazil with polio. They could just as easily do that, and probably do, in New York, LA, Chicago, Dallas, etc. Polio could be back in the United States in a heartbeat, and if it were, given where we are with vaccination of kids today and the spotty coverage we have, that would be an outbreak. So we've achieved this 99.99% reduction since 1985, of which I hope you're proud. I am. And we have this on the run. We're vaccinating 39 million. We vaccinated 39 million kids in Pakistan. Now that sounds like a lot, until you realize that they have 200,000 new births per month. There's another million Pakistani kids every 5 months. So, we're chasing that population growth, as well as it's a population of 220 million, 2/3 the size of the United States population in that little tiny country. So we've got a ways to go in terms of covering all these kids. So our Polio Plus, which started in 1985, we've raised over $2 billion, mostly from Rotarians. Donor governments have chimed in with this, put in about $9 billion. The Indians didn't get a free ride. They put in $193 million of their own money along the way. And again, we've immunized a total of about 2 billion children. We have averted somewhere between 16 and 18 million cases of polio. Somewhere between 16 and 18 million people are walking around not paralyzed on account of Rotary and you. 2007, a bigger brand, us, the Gates Foundation, joined us because frankly, Bill Gates liked what he saw. He liked what we were doing. He liked the fact that it was getting done, and he liked the fact that we said we're not going to quit. Failure is not an option. We're going to be at this until we're done. So part of every Rotary trip is not only the experience on the ground, which I've shared a little bit about, but also the experience with the Rotarians. And Pam's going to tell you something about that.
So if I had known what I was getting in for when we signed up for this, I might not have done it, but it was the most fabulous trip experience that I've had. This is the bus with Rotarians. You'll know Al Pandy, the Indian sitting on your left. He is a pediatric cardiac surgeon, and he kind of hosted us on this trip. We had a travel guide that took care of us too. By the way, there were about 20 of us by the time we were all finished. And made friendships that will last forever. You can't spend 10 days with somebody and not do that. So we visited Delhi, like Terry said, then we flew to Varanasi. I should mention, Nichelle invited all of us to stay with his parents in a small town in Balya. 20 of us with his family. It was a nice house. I'll show you some pictures in a minute. But I don't think I would ask my children to have 20 people come spend 3 days with me anytime soon. So we flew to Varanasi and then did some sightseeing. That's the holy city. Then we bused to Balya, this little tiny village out in the middle of nowhere. This is Nichelle with his father, Papa G, his mother, Mama G, and his sister, Pinky. Pinky came from Delhi to help take care of us while we were there. They also had at the house their cow and their calf. One stall of the garage had a very nice vehicle. The other stall is where the cow and the calf lived. This was kind of a hacienda style house. Most of them were not particularly thrilled about having it. I don't think people are going to be thrilled about getting a COVID injection. This is just 2 drops that you put in a child's mouth. I thought this guy, I just wanted to take him home. We vaccinated about 160 kids that day in our station. Oh, notice my left pinky finger is painted purple. That's because once we vaccinate them, we paint their fingernail with a special kind of polish. It's like a magic marker, but it does not come off. That way we don't double vaccinate them. By the time it wears off, it's okay to do it again. They have to be vaccinated 2 times to make this work. So yeah, I think I had that on there for about 6 months until my fingernail grew out. This is a drive-by vaccine that we did. The next day, we did what they call a mop-up day, and we met at a health organization and went out in teams again with healthcare workers. These workers know the families. They know they go to the same neighborhoods. They know who's born. They know who's died. They know who gets sick. They know them really well, so they trust them. So we went out with our agents. This was the neighborhood. It was really remarkably upper middle class, believe it or not. They had electricity, and you can see the people are happy to see us come. We walked up and down dozens of stairs just like this. Here we're inside one of the homes, and notice that they have a refrigerator. Some of them even had washing machines. Now the washing machines would be out in the stairwell, not inside the actual apartment, but in the stairwell, and then they would just string clothes up wherever to dry, but far more than most places had. Here's Terry marking a kid that he was a real fan. I mean, we kind of stood out between our outfits and the fact that we were white. So the kids loved Terry. The youngest that we vaccinated was 8 days old. And the reason that we vaccinate 5-year-olds and under is because those are the ones that are around on the floor in the sewage. A breastfed baby probably isn't crawling around, but once they start crawling around until about age 5, when you can count on them standing up most of the time, that's when they're most susceptible. Now, do you know how to know if a kid is 5 years or younger? Try reaching your hand over to your other ear. Oh, okay, we're all over 5. But a 4-year-old can't do that. They can only get part way over. I tried it on my grandkids. It really was true.
So I'd like to share some knowledge about polio itself, because again, many of us, I'm assuming, anybody who knew someone, perhaps a classmate, someone, their contemporary had polio, okay? Well, one girl in my class of 40 kids in this little town in Kansas, Janet Gasperson, had polio. She thankfully had polio on only one leg, and I'll explain how that works. to learn some of this and see the aftermath of polio, we visited a place called St. Stephen's Hospital. Now, this is the best looking thing at St. Stephen's, which is a logo on a brand new van that's just been delivered in the parking lot. The hospital itself is a wreck. This happened the day the OSHA inspector wasn't there to look over the wiring. And the whole rest of the hospital looked like this. You'd swear this thing was 100 years old. But they were doing remarkable medicine inside. They were doing that in a Rotary-sponsored rehabilitation unit. And polio rehabilitation is something that will be with us again, for decades after these people are afflicted with polio, particularly in the third world. And here's why. What happens in polio is it's basically the same as a stroke. What happens in polio is it disables the nerves. A lot of people think it's a disease of the muscles. It's not. It disables the nerves, which then can't fire the muscles, right? This posture here is what's known as hand on knee. And that's because this child has one good leg, his right leg, your left, standing on that leg. He's got this hand on this knee, right? That's because with the muscles and ligaments, a knee will not buckle over forward, but it will buckle backward if you have no control of the muscles. So if you can keep that knee locked and just kind of swing it, sort of monster walk, you can actually walk as a polio victim with one leg paralyzed. Now, this girl, this is not a pose. She is paralyzed in this position. And now these joints have probably locked up because they've been in this position so long. And the reason that happens is that as she grew, her bones grew, her muscles grew along with them, but of course they were not functional. So they weren't able to oppose that ligament that pulled her legs up like that, okay? Same thing, notice her elbows as well. So polio basically works from the lower extremities up, the lower part of the spine, and then it works its way up. And so you might have one leg paralyzed, you might have both legs paralyzed, one or both arms. Then it moves up into the chest. That's when you lose the ability to breathe. That's where iron lungs come into play. In the first world, in India, you just die. Here's another boy. Again, not a pose. His leg is permanently paralyzed in that position, and it's because, again, it was not. Now, the reason we didn't see that here, we had orthopedics. Janet had a brace. She had a brace that, of course, graduated as she grew, and it kept her leg straight. So she could use her one good leg, her braced leg, which locked at the knee, and a crutch, and she could get around. Well, that's not so easy to do if one of your legs is locked up in this less than 90-degree position. So a saintly guy named Dr. Vargas is an orthopedic surgeon, and what he does is he does an operation that relaxes that tendon down the back of the knee. Then he puts his patients in traction, literally pulleys and weights, to stretch that tendon out. And you get about 15 degrees per surgery. So you can do the math. She's got 45 degrees left. She will have 3 more surgeries following this one. And then that traction period and the healing up period, then they go back in and do the same thing and stretch the tendon out. Now, once that's accomplished, then they have their, as Vargas says, straightened out. This boy was basically like the guy that Pam showed you on the hand cycle. You'll notice his right leg, your left, is fully muscled. He's been getting around on that leg for better than 20 years. His left leg, of course, is paralyzed, just like these other cases. So he's getting that leg straightened out, and he's about the same spot in the surgical process as the other girl I showed you. Now, this is a girl. She had these 2 legs done separately. I'm not sure quite why. That was her preference. But now she's got both of her legs she can extend fully. And you'll notice the orthopedist on the left-hand side has a brace prepared for her. So with that brace, a brace like that on each leg, her knees will be stiff. But you can walk stiff-kneed. She'll be walking for the first time in her life as a result of this Rotary-provided rehabilitation unit and Dr. Vargas. So this is what India looked like with polio. And there are still people, of course, that are paralyzed with polio in India. thanks to the Rotary Foundation, thanks to Rotarians and this amazing project mounted by the Indian people and the Indian Rotarians, this is the face of India today. That's what Rotary Opens Opportunities is about. We had the opportunity to accomplish this in almost 200 countries in the world. We're down to the last 2. Thank you. Yeah, or hand it to Shane. Sure, we'd be happy to take questions if we have time. Yeah, George? Are we going back?
I hope so.
I hope so. It was thought at the time in 2015, it was thought at the time that this might be one of the last rounds of national immunization days. But even if we take Pakistan and Afghanistan to 0, it's still holding that ground for 3 years. So I'm betting that the Indians will still be vaccinating along that border for at least another 5 to 10 years. Rob? Well, there's all kinds of disinformation in countries without information systems. And that was a big problem in Pakistan and Afghanistan. First of all, you've got a medieval religious base, and you've got a not very well enlightened government. We were out of that vaccination business post-COVID from about March through July, when the Pakistani president realized that he'd made a mistake and appointed a minister of health that just didn't get it. So that person's now been replaced. We're back in the business of vaccinating kids there. But it was lack of leadership by those governments, lack of their working with the mullahs and the religious leaders, and again, debunking some of this incredible mythology like, vaccine sterilizes the girls and all this sort of stuff. And it's just hard, again, in a country where you don't have a free press, you don't have any kind of information except what travels house to house. Yeah, the CIA. We weren't helped by the fact the day we killed Osama bin Laden would think to be vaccinators. That didn't help. As a result, we don't have volunteer vaccinators in either of those countries. They're all paid, and some have been killed. They are frontline health workers, all women, of course. And a male wouldn't be invited into an unfamiliar home ever. So there are women, some have been killed, and they do travel with some security, but there's crazies everywhere. Thank you.
I think today's program has been wonderful. It has taken us full circle from first about the Rotary Foundation and Connie shared with what we can do to give to the Rotary Foundation, how the club wants to help you get to the next level through the Rotary Foundation. From there, we have almost eradicated polio as Rotarians, and it's wonderful that we have these very valuable people in our own club that can make it very real for us. So we really appreciate that. And then from that foundation money, also we have local grants, which is what Kindness Week was one of our district local grants. So that too is awesome. And then all the great things that are happening at Alexander. So for Lucy and our other new members and our old members, and for anybody that's interested in Rotary, if you want to be a part of an organization that gives, that's Rotary. So we hope that everybody will take the opportunity next Tuesday to invite those people that you know to join us for Discover Rotary, so they too can be exposed to the great things that we're doing. So next Tuesday will be our holiday luncheon. So that'll be more of a social event. And make sure you put on your calendar January the 12th. The Mayor Knox White will be here. So that's another great reason when you're inviting your 3 people to learn more about Rotary before the end of the year, to let them know about that. So that's going to happen then. And today I'd like for us all to join and close out with a 4-way test and really see that it's just not our club here, but Rotarians around the world that live by this same motto. So of the things that we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships, and will be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you. And don't forget your mask, please. I don't want to be in the newspaper.